Let's turn the sound on. Here we go. Boom. Welcome to Tokyo Tonight. I am Nico Simon. It is very good to see you all there. Yeah, let me just adjust the chat window. And got a cookie and some coffee there with Sergeant Bilko. Fox Morris, good to see you. Welcome. First time seeing you in a while. Boom, let me put in the My Chan logo in the background there. Also got Tokyo Digital Crew coffee cup. I should put that more prominently where it will show up. Let's put it there. There we go. Good to see you all. How you doing? Boom indeed. James Kelly, good to see you. Mata Gaijinka, yes, that's right. We've got, I was playing your tunes just now. They were sounding very, very sweet, along with those of Tai Nakamura. Let me just pause that. Oh, I thought I changed the battery setting on this. Okay, let's get into... Quickly put the topics at the front. So, first of all, My Chan TV update. Let's do that. Yes, so there are a bunch of updates that ran. We're looking at bugs and a few more feature updates. The feature updates were awesome. They were things like, for example, you can tell when the channel last played a video, but bigger one, you can actually now unsubscribe. So if you see channels that are not active, you can unsubscribe from within the My Chan TV player. You can also like videos, or thumbs up or thumbs down videos from My Chan. You have next video, you have all sorts of stuff, which basically really upgraded this site. The only problem is that it also slowed it down. It slowed it down a lot. So we went, and at the moment we're trying to figure out how to keep the speed and get all the bugs out, and as well as getting all the good features in. Some of the bugs I know that are still happening are things like, for example, sometimes some of the updates lately, the bundles are not appearing properly, just things like that. So this is what happens in beta. We're still trying to run bugs and improve the site. But from what I'm seeing, I mean, I think once we get the kinks worked out, I think we've probably got another week or two of just bug crushing, just to get everything working, as you can see it should be. And then I think we'll be in a pretty close position for full launch, including, I really want to get into the idea of doing a Kickstarter to make a mobile app version of it. It's a nice way to get you guys, in on it, to support it as well, if that's what people really want, which I think a lot of people do. Hey, we've got lots of cool people involved. Hey, Lauren Sakai, one of my extreme pro. So yes, exactly what you were talking about the other day. And by the way, I'm sorry I didn't catch your intercom message for like 3 days, but I caught it today. And yes, I'm seeing all the same things as you, and we are working to clear those out. But I think it's in a really all the cool stuff is right there. So we're just trying to get the speed up, get the bugs out, and I think, honestly, especially now, there was stuff before, like now you can hyperlink and you can jump directly to the YouTube channel if you want to check out what it was for or whatever. I think it's actually better now for watching YouTube. Really, if you're watching subscriptions, it's actually better than the real site. I mean, apart from obviously all the bugs which we'll be working out very soon. It's in a really cool position. Knar, good to see you, Knar. Good to have you along. I guess that's Nar, but I'm glad you could see it live. So anyway, it's always baby steps. This has been going on for a long time, but yeah, it's going in a really good direction. And yes, My Chan TV is looking really awesome. I would say give it about a week. I would say, rather than say go look at it right now, it's in the middle of a bunch of bug fixes, and sometimes you fix something and it breaks something else, and we're kind of in that situation, and that's why the things that you're seeing, Lauren, are happening. And I'm seeing them too, and I'm feeding back, and we're trying to figure them out, but they'll be done soon. And I really do think now we have a site I can confidently say is better than YouTube for watching, especially if you like watching subscriptions, if you like supporting creators through watching subscriptions. So yes, let's see who's in the house and get into it. James O'Hara, who seemed to like the fact that the sweet sounds of Tai Nakamura and Mata Gaijinka were playing their head of the show instead of mine. You're welcome. Not sure about your music title choices. You probably shouldn't get into the music production side of things. But yes, James O'Hara seemed to appreciate it. I see that Tai Nakamura is in there, Mata Gaijinka as well, so your music was being loved in the pre-show, so that was good to see. It's a bit short tonight, but what can I say? Oh yeah, if I said this before, if you're playing Knives Out, K-N-I-V-E-S, Knives Out on iOS, add me and team up. I'm still too addicted to that damn game, but that's a bit too cold. I'm going to turn up the temperature. But yes, I'm having a lot of fun on that, and so yes, again, please, if you have an iPhone or whatever and you like to play PUBG or games like that, have a go. Lots of Japanese people on that. Who else we got? Mr. Cordy Chip. Who else we got in here? We got James Kelly, good to have you along. Robert XXX001 from the Netherlands. Welcome, the Netherlands. Good morning there. We also have Mata Gaijinka, good to see you. We have Sergeant Bilko. Fox Morris, good to have Fox Morris back, the most awesome thumbnail creator ever. Really good to have you along here. Who else we got in here? We have Lauren Sakai, again, probably, certainly in my top 3 MyChan TV supporters and testers. She is really, really awesome. Good to have you along here. Thank you for joining. We have Foghart. We have Bradley Ford. Tai Nakamura, good to see you always. Kanara, where are you from, Kanara? It's good to see you live. It's nice to know where you are. Whereabouts are you? Kang and Kodos from Tochigi. You made it for the live show on time. Oh, you were in Tochigi for the day, were you? Well, Tochigi's nice. Where'd you go? They've got a crazy accent up there. Who else we got in here? Tai Nakamura, Brad Ford, and Shoeless Floor Dweller. Sashiburi says the flawless Shoeless Floor Dweller. Good to see you. こんばんは。久しぶりってなんか後々あるっけこのユーザー名初めて見た。G'day, says Barrington. Good to see you. I need to blow my nose. Give me 1 second. I'm going to turn off the mic and blow my nose. I was doing a big cleanup today and the room is a little bit dusty, so apologies for that. I might have to do that again. Good night from Canada. Not usually at home. Sunday morning, 9:30 a.m. Well, I'm glad we got you at 9:30 a.m. there in Canada, and welcome, hey. So good to see you. And into the topics. What's been going on in Japan and the internets this week that I thought was good, or not good in the case of this. This was really probably the biggest news story of the week in Japan. It's not really that big a deal if you ask me, but it's been kind of the lead story. So just to explain what it is. There was an American football in Japan is quite big. Rugby is bigger, but American football is quite popular. There is a pro league, there is a university league. Apparently the 2 biggest rival universities is Nihon University, which is based in Tokyo, and Kansai University, which is of course based in Kansai in Osaka. And apparently at the game, under this coach, Uchida, I think is his name, he's taken Nihon University from being kind of a crappy team to being a Japan champion American football team. However, apparently his way of firing up the team is to, do the old movie pep talk, get out there and kill them and rip their hearts out and all that sort of thing. And problem was apparently in a game the other day, some of the players took his instruction literally, and he said go out and break them. And apparently someone thought it would be a really good idea to do a couple, a few of them started doing kind of off the ball foul plays, like basically, after the quarterback threw the ball and was sort of walking away, one of them charged and tackled him right in his back, and actually injured the quarterback, for example. There were people starting fights, and it just looked really, really crappy. There was some video of it. Yes, it looked super dirty. I mean, that said, yeah, I mean, coming from a rugby background, I mean, it's not like anyone got bitten or their eyes poked out or anything like that. I mean, geez, Buck Shelford, captain of the All Blacks, I mean, he was playing a game against France where one of the French players used the spikes on the bottom of his boot to actually rip off one of his testicles, and he kept playing. He kept playing with a torn scrotum and a ripped testicle. Of course, that's back in the bad old days when it was okay to stomp on people with spikes and do all sorts of bad shit. So, I mean, coming from that culture, a late tackle's kind of cute that you get in that much trouble. But there again, the big difference between American football and rugby, of course, is that, you don't tackle in American football. You're wearing, all of these pillows and, whatever it is that they put on, all this protection and cotton wool and stuff. And what it means is that you don't tackle like in rugby. In rugby, you run into someone, you grab them, and you throw them around or whatever. It's a bit of a judo thing. Whereas American football, they use their body like missiles. So they actually because you're so protected, they just like put their head down and they just charge, and that's why they get all these neck and spine injuries and stuff like that, because basically every tackle in that sport is basically like a car crash. So at the same time, I play rugby, and I've seen American football, and although at first I thought, oh geez, they wrap them up in futons and stuff like that to protect them from all the hurt, at the same time, I I must admit, having seen a game, I'm like, oh no, I would not want that. That's just basically being in car crashes all day long, and you know, being in a car crash off the ball. I kind of get it's not cool. So you know, basically all the other universities, apparently the player responsible. Well, when everyone was a bit shocked by how dirty Nihon University was, and other universities started saying, you know, it's dangerous for our players to play this team. You know, they're going to play dirty and injure our players like this. We're just going to cancel all of our games with them. And it took about a week for the head coach of the university to come forward and say, I'll take responsibility for this and resign due to my coaching. The player involved, who's also banned and is retired from American football, said the coach told me to do it. The coach went down to Kansai University and apparently spent the whole day apologizing while mislabeling the name of the university. He was calling it, you know, what was he calling it? He was calling it an abbreviation, but he was calling it Kansai Institute University or something. He kept mislabeling it all day, which pissed him off a little bit more. Just the fact it took a week for him to come out and actually say, yeah, that was kind of my bad. It took a long time. It does bring me back to when I was playing rugby in Japan against the US Navy. We would play a friendly game with them when I was in the French rugby club. And it was kind of funny. There was when I talked with the other clubs as well, the US Navy guys were awesome. You get to go down to Yokosuka base for the day, which is actually really cool. I mean, it's America in Yokohama. It's a, you know, full military base. I grew up in military bases, but you know, US bases have like massive supermarkets, restaurants, you know, they got lots and lots of cool stuff, big sports fields, stadiums, you know, down there. And we got to play on this big American football stadium, rugby. And the funny thing about those games was we always won them because the American guys, you know, were learning the rules and they were learning how to play rugby. But the thing is that we always would have 2 or 3 guys in hospital after those games. We'd win by 50 points and we'd still have 2 or 3 guys in hospital. And there was one year that we had a guy who actually required bolts in his leg. He just got, and it's just because these American guys they do nothing but train all day. They're like bodybuilders. And they don't have good technique. So you know, when they hit you, apart from the fact it's like getting hit by a truck every single tackle, they tackle like American football guys. You know, they'll like accidentally stand on your foot and lift you up and dislocate, you know, all the bones in your leg. That's what happened to a guy on my team. And we all sort of looked around after that and said, they're really nice guys. We like the barbecue afterwards. We like the hanging out on the base. We love the field. We don't like being in hospital. So you know, we had to decide to not have those games so often. That said, they got really, really good after that, I heard, and I really did like hanging out with them. But yeah, you know, it's kind of crazy when you can use your body like that. Anyway, so Sergeant Vilko, I think, yeah, the protection is mainly for the riots after they win, that I hear. Like, yeah, it actually was fun. Believe it or not, I mean, I was, because I wasn't in hospital anyway, it wasn't fun. Yeah, it wasn't fun for the people in hospital. I always actually learned to never play that aggressively, that I would get that injured. Self-preservation, first priority. But yes, it is a lot of fun. Rugby is a great game, as is American football. Actually, I've been to a couple of live games, but yes. Yes, so in other sports, the Japan Sunwolves, based in Tokyo, they had a game in Hong Kong on the weekend. So last week they played Queensland and they beat Queensland on Sunday night after the show. That was awesome, and they actually played a really, really good game, in spite of having lost every other game this season. So they're kind of at the bottom of the competition. They're a team of like half Japanese guys and half kind of Pacific Island and some South African and New Zealand players that are based in Japan playing for clubs, and they play for the Sunwolves team, the professional rugby team, in this competition with clubs from New Zealand, Australia and South Africa. Well, they just won 2 weeks in a row. They won yesterday, extra time, long range drop goal, awesome game against South Africa. And South Africa, you know, you have to understand, is, you know, from a Commonwealth perspective, they're like the Texas, you know, they eat lots of beef, they grow to be enormous. They're just, you know, they're Dutch, and they're, you know, they've got Dutch height, and they've got the muscle and meat eating habits of like Texans. So, you know, they just produce these enormous players, and, you know, you got these Japanese guys playing against them, and they were just awesome. They weren't making any mistakes. They were just being relentless. They ran them down in the heat with their bit of fitness, and every time these guys were running in, they were like, you know, they'd have a second guy running behind, pushing him like a trolley, because these South African guys are so huge, you know, that they're running into. So, you know, if they just ran him like that, they would just bounce back off. So they'd have a second guy push him through. So I was coaching kids today. I was like, I coach kids rugby every week, and we were talking about it, and I was saying, yeah, I mean, you know, It's putting your body fully on the line, but they did a great demonstration of that. Really great game, and fantastic to see the Sunwolves doing so well. So yes, I took personal pleasure from that. That was a really good win for them. Didn't miss, no, Dave O'Hunter, you didn't miss the Hello Kitty 500 yet. The story or the there it is, right there, boom, boom. So the 500 series, by the way, this only runs between Osaka and Kyushu. It doesn't actually come to Tokyo, which kind of sucks, because the 500 is definitely, although it's now a very old train, it is actually, I think, the coolest looking of the different models of bullet train. Yeah, it runs between Osaka and Hakata Station in Fukuoka. Davo, there you go. If that's your thing, there it is. Boom. Check it out. Davo's Wonderland. Hello Kitty, everything. Pink, hearts, and apparently the Hello Kitty's not a cat. You might remember I had a crying game moment with this about 2 years ago, when the creator of Sanrio actually revealed that she's actually a girl from London, and the creator for some reason just draws her like a cat, but she's not actually a cat. So sorry if this is news for some of you. I know it's kind of disturbing. So this is a severely deformed little girl, but a very cute train. And I must admit, I mean, if you've got kids, it'd be kind of cool. Only in Japan. Yeah, I must admit, I mean, it's kind of cool to be in a country that will actually do this. Yes, indeed. It will be going, when will it be going from? It's going Tottori in Shimane. Oh, so there we go. This is a Hello Kitty train car, so this is going to be used in the Tottori Shimane prefecture lines. So yes, there it is, the 500 series Shinkansen. When does it start? That's the interior. June 30th. So look out for that. If you're in Japan on June 30th and you're in Osaka, Fukuoka, or anywhere in between, you can have a ride on the pinkety pink, lovely kawaii Hello Kitty train. So there you go. Japan or Taiwan? Bradley Ford, I guess. I missed part of the conversation there. I heard she's back to... Is she back to being a cat? Okay, well, that's good. Sergeant Bilko, yeah, that's actually true as well. So yes. The airplane theme, that was EVA Air. Yeah, the Taiwanese airline actually, I think they've got licensing from Sanrio, and they actually have fully decked out Kitty-chan planes or whatever. The Neon Genesis Evangelion, they say in Evangelion, not Jellion in Japanese. Yes, I think that's been on for a while now. Now they're basically just repainting the same train, but it's a very cool train. I mean, it looks like an F-16 or something. This is one I saw yesterday, and it's kind of funny. A lot of people are saying, like, duh, but the thing is, there is so much stuff that comes out, like, particularly in the world of parenting advice, and I suffer from this, where, you know, it's like, you've got to expose your kid to like 10 different languages by the time they're 3, or they'll never be fluent at the languages, or they'll never be good at them. And then you hear another one is that they have to learn by 10 to be truly fluent. I don't know where you would put me on that range. I work with people who are in that situation. I work in Japanese companies. People tell me that I do okay. I know I'm not 100% perfect, but I think I do okay. There again, I've lived here for 20 years, so I suppose I've had a good opportunity with that. But I really didn't start speaking Japanese until I was like, I mean, I learned in high school, so I learned between about 13 and 18. I took it at university, but I sucked. I mean, I got 35% in university entrance Japanese. I failed after second year university, so I really did have to stick with it. And I wouldn't say that I really got good at it until like after I was like 22 or 23. I've been speaking it for the last 20 years. I did suffer for it, but you know, I mean, it was a struggle. And it might have been easier if I'd paid attention to it sooner, but I would say you're looking at proof that you can definitely become fluent in Japanese as one language. And Japanese is considered to be the hardest, you know, language in terms of being from English. I think the American Department of State, they do a ranking of languages, like scientifically, according to the proximity and familiarity and the ability to learn, like how long it takes to learn to become proficient in a language. And Japanese is considered to be in the category of the hardest languages. But there again, I did it, you know, and I also learned Spanish at university, and I only took it for 3 years. I wouldn't say I was fluent in 3 years. I could do okay. I could go to Madrid, I could go to Spain, and really pretty much say anything that I wanted. And I'm pretty sure that if I had stayed there for a year, I probably could have gotten pretty close to fluent. I certainly didn't have trouble expressing myself, and so it would have just been sounding a little bit more natural. Which I think even when I was there for 3 months at one point, and I got pretty good. I mean, day to day I could handle pretty much any situation. I mean, probably like a student who had been in your own country for 3 months, you could talk, but probably it wouldn't take that long. And you think about exchange students that you meet from other countries that come to university or high school, and they've been here, when they've been there for a couple of years, generally they are fluent. So obviously it's common sense, but apparently there is debate about this. There are people who will insist that to be truly fluent, and fluent is a difficult thing to define. But I would say fluent is someone at a level that it would sound to a native speaker like you've probably been here your entire life. At that sort of a level. Yeah, I would say it's totally achievable as an adult. Obviously younger the better. Obviously it does help to be younger. It's not just the brain either. It's just that it's the reason kids get good at video games. They've just got more time to focus and repetitively practice stuff. So yeah, I'm going to blow my nose one more time, so just pardon me, I'll turn off the mic. I must admit, I turn the mic off, I go off the screen, I come back with slightly glazed eyes and rubbing my nose. I haven't been doing lines of cocaine. I assure you I have been blowing my nose. You probably don't want to see. So, business and medical is hard. Oh, the J-Vlog, good to see you, the J-Vlog, good to have you along, as well as License 45, good to see you there. It will be very good for selfie photo, I agree. Yeah. Kangan Kodos has a question for me. Your wife is thinking, I'm guessing, about going back to Japan, so the little one can start school there next year. You think that is a good idea? Little one is 4 at the moment. Well, that's a really tough question. So I have a little one who is now 8, and he's grown up in Japan, and he's going to regular school in Japan. I can tell you that the schools in Japan are generally pretty good. I mean, I'm a satisfied user. There again, you're always going to have this thing. The kid's always going to be biased towards, linguistically, the country and the language that their friends and that their education system is in. So, kind of depends. Are you planning, if your goal is making your kid bilingual, you're probably better to be either going to Japanese school in Australia or an international school in Japan. If your goal is for the kid just to be sort of normal where they are, local school where you plan to live while they're growing up, and for me that's Japan, and that's why my kid is in a local school. That's the decision that I took. Always a thing about whether you want to put him in an international school. I must admit we're hitting the threshold where if we do it, we've got to do it now, but he really doesn't show any interest at all in speaking English or going to an international school, so I guess we're not going to do it. But there again, that's fine with me. I'm not planning I don't have plans to live outside of Japan. And I do think, of course it becomes tougher, but I do think he could adapt. So I don't know, the question for you, Kan Kodos, is just what are your life plans? Where are you going to be? Where is your little one planning you likely to spend most of their time? I think in any case it's good to be exposed to as much as possible the other one. I mean, when I was a kid I'd go to Australia for 6 months at a time sometimes. When I lived in Singapore and New Zealand, Mum would take me over to Australia. I went to school for a long time over there. Of course that's different. It's not a different language, but it is a different education system. And I jumped between both countries and the different education systems growing up. So yeah, I don't know, it really depends. Also, I guess it does make a big difference. Kangan Kodos, do you speak Japanese? There is a thing, if the kid goes to Japan, there's a strong chance that they will come out of it not speaking English, or that their English will decline. And that is also bad when one of the parents aren't bilingual. It's a scenario that you often hear about in Japan, that you have expats who have kids who go to normal school, and over time their kid becomes less able and less willing to communicate with them. So you'd hope if they're in Japan that they are getting good exposure to English. If you don't speak Japanese, if you do speak Japanese, well then you're risking cutting off the communication with your Australian family. But of course the other situation is also true if they're in Australia. So it's really, really tough. But yes, I think you can learn the other language at any time. Half Japanese tend to be particularly motivated to learn. I know a lot of who've come in, after kind of rebelling against the Japanese identity all their lives, kind of picked it up, at the same time I did at university, and they became my classmates and so So yeah, there's no clear answer. It's different for every single person, but I'd say there's different ways of tackling it. Definitely good to expose the kids to both cultures. So and at 4, the kid will be very easy to adapt. It'll be probably the time that they'll struggle will be short. So if you do it, now's a good time anyway. That's another thing I would say. But yeah, there is no answer. If there was an answer, people would say it. So there you go. White stuff on the side. Don't believe when he says he was just blowing his nose. He was also secretly farting loudly. I wouldn't turn off the mic for that. I'd just say it was a car accident outside. Yeah. Okay. Well, all the best with that. I hope that works out. Yanni or Laurel? So Yanni or Laurel? I haven't actually looked at this yet. I've seen this going around, but I haven't actually heard it. So I don't fully understand what it's about. I should have actually done that before the show, shouldn't I? I think I understand what it is. It's which one do you hear? It's like the dress thing. Let me maybe. Well, I guess I'll be too late. If you follow me on Facebook, I'll come with my conclusion on Facebook at some point. But I don't know. I haven't tried it out. Let's go to the next story. Boom. Sexpat journalists are ruining Asia coverage. This is by a Chinese Canadian journalist. Joanna Chiu, who has been based in China, I think, in Hong Kong, and she has run into the problem of white expats in the journalism industry who become oversexed from living in Asia, finding it a little bit too easy to get girls, and become very proactive and obnoxious with women. And when she goes out on dates, or not even on dates, just working with colleagues in the same profession, she finds a lot of them just become interested in sexually harassing her constantly, and she basically outed them and wrote all about it on this blog. Interesting thing here, I must admit, the tendency as someone in the category being targeted by this blog and being defensive at first. When I used to hear about this sort of thing, like abstractly, I was like, really, maybe it was something to do with her or something like that. But then I must admit, if you ever listen to your female friends, to your women friends and their experiences, Japanese or foreign, it is kind of amazing. It's like I don't know if you've seen Master of None, which is, you have to watch it. It's like one of the best things I've ever seen. It's on Netflix. But there's an episode which actually isn't very funny, but it actually goes through the very real situation of how women and men do experience the same situations differently. Getting lost walking home at night for guys is just like kind of like fun and stupid, and for women it can be kind of scary. Being on trains and stuff like that, like hearing, if you ask female friends, have you ever been groped on a train? I can't even understand that, but it's happened to like most women. And this is a thing, and then I hear that and I think, wow, there must have been some psychopath. But when you listen again to the people who have this happen to them, you realize it's not like 1% crazy people like you assume. It's actually quite a percentage of guys that act like this. It's a very high percentage, and it's kind of sometimes you find out that your friend was did something like this, and it's kind of like, whoa. But yeah, as a guy, we've got a huge blind spot for this. Certainly, I know from talking with my own. I mean, just before I was talking about how I have half friends, for example, who learned Japanese at university with me, and came to Japan later on. I remember talking with them, and they said every time they met a guy, first date, they would just like get attacked pretty much every time, and it was just getting like too much. So they on top of the fact that local guys that they're interested in are often chasing locals in the first place, when they do date when they do get a date with a expat guy, they're a little bit sex crazy and expect that they can make a move on the first date, which I must admit, in my younger phase, it's true. When you are going to places like Roppongi, or you're going to clubs and you're meeting girls, honestly in Japan you just say, hey, you wanna? And it was that, I don't know what it's like now, but certainly in my day it was kind of very easy, and I could see how that could distort the reality. I remember I was talking with my girlfriends from New Zealand about this, and they were talking about how these guys, they just think that right away. They were saying exactly what this woman said. Apparently she said how these journalists basically turn into sort of slime balls. like that. It's certainly not just restricted to slime balls, and I guess I don't really know what to say to this other than just reading this reminds me of conversations I have had with my own friends saying pretty much the same thing in different contexts. And as a guy, other than saying, sorry, I don't think I would fall into one of those stories. No, I don't think I would, but at the same time, any skepticism I had, I've just heard the story from too many different angles, from too many different people. And I suppose it's this thing, to guys, just don't be dicks, please. It is something which definitely happens. You come out here, it's often guys find it easier to get girls sometimes, or it's nice to be exotic. It's nice to be in a place where you are considered to be interesting by, not by everybody, but by girls who are into foreigners or into foreigners. I get the feeling now there are so much more foreigners now than there used to be, that probably our exoticism is disappearing, and hopefully that will normalize things a little bit. But certainly, it does distort your perception of things. But if you're not self-aware of what you're doing, you can land yourself in a lot of trouble. Like being in a blog like this, and maybe you should read it just for the purpose of some self-awareness. Anyway, it is a phenomenon now. She talks about it from a Southeast Asia and China perspective. It definitely happens in Japan. It sounds like a bit of a rant on the one hand, but on the other hand, I know that this stuff is true. So there you go, guys. Don't be sexpats. Time and place, and try to read proper context. But interesting anyway. This is something I've seen and heard from multiple different situations. Mogberry Pie, you've only been here for less than a month. Well, Skippy Oyajio, that's right. Oyajo, I think you've got, someday you want to be a Skippy Oyaji. I think that's what you're trying to say, and you can aspire to that. Yes, I was, different being a Skippy young guy to a Skippy old guy. I mean, I'm not quite a dirty old man. GDPR, this has been a big thing. This is occupying my life at the moment. It comes out this week. If it affects you, your life probably sucks a little bit. It affects Japan because a lot of Japanese multinationals have European branches. It's kind of a good thing. It basically means, this is where Facebook is freaking out at the moment. Anyone with, I think, resident in Europe or who's been in Europe, who data is collected in Europe, if it gets exported, well, there's a couple of things to it. Within Europe, it means that you can call up and ask any company to give all your data that they have, which will be very interesting for companies that spy and track people a lot. As we've had in the news. If you're outside of Europe, it also means that you've got to get assurances from the service provider, if your data is sent outside of Europe, that they will protect it and treat it the same way as if it was held within Europe. Again, real interesting week for that. So look out for that. It means that you're going to have more access to your data this week. At least if you've got a connection to Europe, which I know a lot of you guys watching do. By the way, Fox Morris does the opposite. Also exists in Japan. Women groping men on the train. Any stories? One story. I have an Australian friend who claims he was groped on the train by a woman. I have never seen or heard of it in 20 years, other than my one Australian friend, who was a sexpat, who was the biggest sexpat I've ever heard of. So, I don't know. I get the feeling maybe it had something to do with him. It was a funny story, but yes, it definitely doesn't happen the other way. It's men grabbing women, and it's not cool. So there you go. I had a guy rub his arm on your boob on the train. Oh, see, but this is exactly Mogberry Pie. This is kind of what and you've been here for less than a month. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Every woman has a story, and guys, just we don't experience that. And honestly, I think it's a bit like the episode of Master of None. You should ask your women friends in Japan, have they had this happen, and what happened, because a whole world that you don't see opens up. This is the thing. Shoeless Florilla, you'd be surprised. Everyone thinks, oh, that would be great. It's a little bit like the idea of being molested by your teacher, and people say, sometimes you hear some old politicians say, oh, I would have loved to have been molested by my teacher. But you think about it, no. Actually no. If it actually happens, it actually kind of sucks for the people involved. So yes, time, like everything, time and place. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's consent, obviously, and sometimes it's not. But there we go. Matagai, okay, let's all calm down, everybody. Eurovision, is that appropriation? I'm not sure. First of all, some people are asking, well, how come Israel is in Eurovision? Well, I mean, I grew up in Australia, and Australia's in Eurovision. We don't obviously watch it here in Japan, and so I kind of don't really get. I mean, I get it. It's kind of like a dry run for the European Union. I think Turkey is in it, aren't they? I think some. It's like an idea of what the European Union could be if all they did was like make cheesy music. So Israel gets in there, Australia gets in there. Israel won this year. Congratulations, Israel. Not that I really understand it. Apparently she dressed in, they call that a kimono, which I totally don't understand, but she did makeup and hairstyle or whatever to do like in Japan image, and everyone's saying, oh, you're appropriating Japanese culture, to which Japanese always say, well, we love being appropriated. And it's true, it's kind of funny, all of these things where people see, people wearing kimonos or whatever, or eating sushi or whatever. Japanese love it when people appropriate their culture. I've seen other people say, well, it's not for the Japanese, it's for Asians living within those countries that have to tolerate racism. But at the same time, even with that, well, that's still a different thing. That culture, to a degree, it belongs to the expats in those countries. But the idea that can I ask, anyone here has already commented on the quite shocking Japanese cultural bastardization appropriation going on in Nita's song? Again, I mean, the whole British Empire is based on that. Japanese appropriate culture more than anybody else. I still think, here's me, I'm putting this out there. I get it. The idea of bad cultural appropriation, I guess, came from, kind of cute plays like the Mikado or whatever, British Empire making fun of the British Empire, other ethnicities, the idea, the minstrel shows, the sort of, white people dressing up as black people and acting like they think black people act. This idea of taking black culture and kind of mocking it for entertainment purposes, that's bad, and that's happened for a long time, and that sort of thing. That's bad appropriation. But good appropriation, look at me. Geez, I've lived here in Japan for 20 years. I've done nothing but appropriate Japan for 20 years, and it's good. It's it's good. It's bad. It's sharing. We come from melting pot cultures by nature. The nature of melting pot cultures is that we absorb and integrate, and sometimes misintegrate, other cultures. I mean, Chinese, I'll give you a good example. Chinese characters. When I was learning Japanese in New Zealand, I remember whenever there was a Chinese character would come up, and then this happens a lot with English importing French and Greek words incorrectly. It also happens a lot with Japanese importing kanji incorrectly. And when the teacher would draw a dog on the blackboard, and the Chinese would put up their hands and say, no, that's a cat. And the Japanese would say, this is Japanese, this isn't Chinese, okay? We call it a dog. Shut up. Obviously, dog is dog in both kanji, but this is a little bit what it's like. There's Japanese, they borrowed kanji wrong, and Chinese still get pissed off about it. I know Americans. I remember when Japanese would do like katakana pronunciation while speaking Japanese. I had American friends would say, no, you're saying it wrong, say it correctly, it's not McDonald's, it's McDonald's, say it correctly. I'm like, he's speaking Japanese, fuck you. I mean, they appropriated the word and they adapted it, and this is like, the world is better for shitty appropriation, not for mocking purposes, for humiliation purposes or whatever, not cool. But for everything else, and that's tributary appropriation. I mean, you call it bastardization. I think that's, God, to tell you the truth, I don't know what that is, actually. She seems lovely, but this is how, we all get a little bit close together. It's how we get to that Blade Runner world of mixed cultures. I mean, if you had banned appropriation, to me, demanding appropriation like isolation and separation of cultures, you're basically advocating for apartheid, if you ask me. You're asking for actually enforce like lines of segregation. You know, you don't want mixing of cultures. You need to keep subcultures pure. The idea that white people can't integrate, you know, or adopt, you know, Asian cultural things. You know, the Asian people can't adopt white things. To me, the concept, to me, is prone with issues. I'm okay with the idea that you know, bad, like mocking appropriation or borrowing or whatever is bad, sure. But I really don't buy into. I think the fact that Neta, I haven't heard her song yet actually, but the fact that she won wearing something that resembles vaguely resembles a kimono, oh cool, go with that, seriously. I mean, yes. Mr. Quarty Chip, I mean, who knows. Transsexual, by the way, she's trans apparently. I don't know if that's, and probably a lovely person. Riley Dennis is not a credible person to listen to. I don't know who Riley Dennis is, but I will take note of that and be very careful not to listen to that person. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Japan apparently still has, I think, what is the rate? It's like less than 5% representation of women, although women politicians are very prominent. They lead many of the left-wing parties in Japan. There are a number, they're also being generally being stacked disproportionately in the cabinet, so there are opportunities for female lawmakers are definitely there, but the overall number going to the House is still less than 5%, I believe. So in order to increase the representation, the current Minister of Internal Affairs and Communication, the Minister in charge of Women's Empowerment, so a cabinet member, is apparently going to pass a law which is going to require parties to have quotas of candidates that they put forward in elections being female. I remember some people on Twitter making discussion about this, about the idea that, you know, we shouldn't be mandating quotas of women just for the sake of, you know, affirmative action or whatever, but at the same time, the comment was they should just be qualified. But this is representative democracy. Being qualified is just being, you know, able to represent your constituency. And of course, you can argue that, you know, someone like me is, of course, I'm capable of representing minorities, you know, and women in my district if I were to be elected. But at the same time, it's exactly like talking about sexpats before. I'm just going to naturally have a blind spot. I'm going to lack the experience. And if I haven't been fortunate enough to have had conversations with people to understand their experiences that I don't have in my majority position, then how am I ever going to be able to really advocate for those minority constituents in the same way, you know, as someone from that community who firsthand understands those issues can do. So I think the point is that, you know, there are legitimate reasons to try to influence the way you can, you know, you're not trying to mandate outcomes. In this case in Japan, they're only mandating the candidate roles, not the outcomes. Make them still win all the seats. But I think trying to do steps a bit like the Scandinavian countries do, where they actually mandate the number of actual people on the party list, because they've got a voting system where you vote for the party rather than just the people. So they mandate that if you get 10 seats, then you have to have 5 women and 5 male representatives on that. The party can fill the seats how they like, but there are rules there about which actually do more specifically mandate how those outcomes come. In New Zealand as well, we have Maori seats. If you're a registered Maori voter, you actually get increased representation. You get a number of fixed seats which guarantees representation of Maori interests in Parliament, which, based on them being a demographic minority, means that they might not get that representation otherwise. I think, you know, there are legitimate and good reasons to do this, particularly in Japan, just where the representation is so poor. And the best example of this is, you know, the contraceptive pill in Japan. It was available from the 1970s, was not legalized in Japan until like around 2000, and it's still extremely limited. There's a lot of propaganda against it, like it could kill you, whatever. And, you know, generally speaking, there's a political and regulatory conservatism that was really against legalizing it, because they blamed it for the sort of feminist and the, you know, movement and the increased divorce rate and everything in America was the empowerment of women over their reproductive process. That said, when Viagra came out, the regulators actually accelerated the trials and everything to have it released the fastest of any drug in history. So, you know, when it comes to female reproduction, you know, lawmakers and regulators held it up for 30 years when male reproduction was there to give more empowerment control to men and basically to allow old men to get it up. They approved it in 6 months. So, you know, there's clear proof of bias in representation that, you know, favors majority, groups like males over females. So I kind of get this. It's good to see that Japan is starting to take baby steps in this direction. It's actually quite forward thinking. I mean, compared to other countries, there aren't many countries which have this. So it'll be interesting to see what the outcome is, but good on Japan for doing that. YouTube Red, I believe, is becoming YouTube Premium. That said, I mean, remember, this is going to be so it's going to be ad free. It's going to have lots of. It's going to attempt to be like Amazon Video or Netflix or Hulu TV. It's going to have lots of original programming. If you like watching regular, I must admit, I want to see Cobra Kai, so it could be a good thing. But at the same time, if you just want to watch, YouTube content that you like that's available for free on YouTube, like this, for example, MyChan TV, that's what you want to use, because it's going to make it it's going to make it play and work hopefully a lot like you get with premium YouTube, except I think it'll actually work better and you'll have full control over it. You won't be dictated to by an algorithm. So we're going to put in a bunch of pro features and whatever to actually make it really, really, really cool. I mean, the free version, which is already available and is in beta right now, is in itself is really, really awesome. But I think it's kind of it's interesting to see, and I do like the idea that Google's getting more content made. I think that's been the really great thing about having Amazon and Netflix invest so much money in TV shows. I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine the last couple of weeks, and I'm quite enjoying it. And again, I'm really glad that these shows are now possible. The Expanse, I can't wait for that to come back on. But I love that all of this content, this fantastic content, is now out there and getting made because these, streaming services have the money to pay for it now. So yes, Pull and Pray. I don't know what that's about. Riley Dennis is a terrible person. Thank you for clarifying that, Matagajinka. So you'll be interested to see what YouTube Premium is. Features and updates. This is a blog about MyChan TV. I should have put this at the start of the show. I think I listed up what we've got there. This is super cool, by the way. This reads the blog to you, and it sounds really, really natural. It actually kind of freaks me out a little bit. Plus, it helps me proofread. I've got a little Amazon Poly plug-in with this. So what do we got here? I put in here. You said that you'd like to be able to thumbs up and thumb down the videos. Well, now you can do that. And a set of steak knives. Yes. You can also, you wanted forward reverse on the control player. We enabled that for you. You wanted to be able to select all and search results. Oh, that's what I mentioned. Yes. So I don't want people to select all their subscriptions at once, because you just get these massive, really hard to load. It's going to ruin the performance of the site if everyone just does one click to add all of their stuff to one playlist. I want people to actually curate their playlist, but to the extent that you can think of a playlist like comedy, and every channel description has comedy in it, that there are 50 results and you want to add them all into the comedy bundle. But until now you had to do that one by one. But Lauren Sakai, I hope you'll appreciate this. I put a little check all, select all thing there that appears whenever you do a search or a filter, so that you can actually add those 50 comedy results to your comedy bundle all at once now. So we made that a little bit easier, so that's super cool. What else did we do? Oh yeah. Also, I think this is actually your one. You mentioned that when the channels get added to a bundle, they all lined up sort of randomly. So when the bundles got really big, it was really hard to tell which YouTube channels were in the MyChan bundles. Now the YouTube channels are organized alphabetically in the bundles. I know the bundles are broken at the moment. They will come back online, but when they come back online, you will see they're arranged alphabetically, so it'll be really easy to verify. Did I add that to that bundle or not? You'll be able to go back and check and verify that really easily. We also allow you now to unsubscribe from the subscriptions control panel, which is huge. We also show things like, for example, when a channel was last active, so you can see if it was active like a couple of years ago. That lets you know that you can go and boom, unsubscribe to that if you want to clean up your YouTube channels without having to jump back and forth. If you do want to jump back and forth, the channel name's now hyperlinked to the YouTube channel, so if you see a channel and you think, what was that channel about? I don't remember why I subscribed to that. You can go look at it. It was super awesome. John Anderson, you made it at the end, but that's okay. It's the best part of the show. The new YouTube subscribe button is cool. I hope you get one. Oh, I don't know. What is that? I don't think I've noticed that. But yes, the alphabetical order, the thumbs up. See, these are things that you asked for, and I put them on the list, and they got done, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my god, that's awesome. They actually did it, and they didn't tell me right away. So actually, I had Tim the Asian ping me and say, dude, those new features are awesome. And I'm like, what new features? So it was really, really cool. But like I say, sometimes you fix something and something else goes a little bit funny. So we're getting it all done at the moment. But yeah, you can actually clean up your subscriptions and watch from the dashboard and like videos and plays. You can do it all within the site, and it's like this. Let's see if I can, like that. Yes, it's awesome. So mychan.tv, it is good and it's almost there. Like I said, it's just a couple of bugs at the moment. Give it one more week, get the bugs out, and it'll be pretty much good. It is beta, it is accessible right now, just not working perfectly. Yes, you can. Amen. Can I get an amen? Why not? Tokyo Olympics, you can now get tickets. You can pre-book tickets if you want to watch the track and field or the opening ceremony. The good news is that tickets are available. The bad news is that the opening ceremony is going to be $2,640 per ticket. Yeah. If you want to watch the yeah, I mean, just the prices are a little bit crazy. Apparently it's going to be for the most popular track and field event, it's going to be $1,000. It's going to be $650 for if you want to watch Paralympics, the cheapest tickets are $65, so that's a bit more reasonable. It would be good to go and watch, but it is quite a lot of moolah to go and pay for those tickets, unfortunately. Although a couple of years away, I am looking forward to it. 30 million tourists coming to Japan every year. Someone did some math and said, hey, let's get 1,000 yen from each one of those people, $10 from each one of them. So I don't know how they're going to collect it. I hope it doesn't become a huge queue that you have to go through at the airport, but I think from next year there is going to be a 1,000 yen departure tax. The old Hotel California tax is going to be applied. This sucks. I hope they figure out a way to collect the payment that is efficient and does not burden tourists, but there you go. They are going to spend the money apparently on developing regional tourism, so there you go. Insurance is now becoming available for self-driving cars. This is a good thing. It actually does make sense. I think if you can get driving cars, they don't have to be perfect. They're still going to have accidents, but to the extent that they are going to be less likely to have accidents than cars driven by people, obviously just from insurance premiums, they're going to give you cheaper insurance if you buy a self-driving car probably than if you drive it yourself at some point. And that's it's going to be insurance that's going to drive the market shift from cars that drive themselves to self-driving cars, and I can't wait for this actually. You know, just so many things. Public transport, the idea about tourism, traveling. To me, I would want to buy a car that could drive me around anywhere like that. You know, again, just having done this for surfing, having done road trips for surfing, where we take turns driving, and when someone's driving, you're sleeping, and it's cool when you sleep. When you've been surfing all day, it's pretty easy to sleep in the back of a car. You wake up and you're at the beach. It's almost like magic. It's like getting tele-transported, you know, and it's safe. And if the car is doing the driving for you, I think that would be truly awesome. Chocomint stuff. Someone actually, a magazine or a blog here, actually did a rating of all the Chocomint stuff that is available at the moment. It's all limited edition at the moment for just the summer months that you get the sour drinks and the minty stuff just for refreshing from the heat. So they've gone and they've actually tested on a scale of mintiness and chocolatiness, where at the top is extra chocolatey and down the bottom is less chocolatey, and on the left hand side is less minty, and on this side is like whoa, way minty. So, you know, for example, you've got the old bake mints from Morinaga down there. They are the least chocolatey, but they're extremely minty. You've also got some ice cream, it looks like, saku cookie iri no chocomint. You've also got ice cream out here is extremely minty and extremely chocolatey and minty. A bunch of stuff there right in the middle of the road for mintiness, but still extremely chocolatey. You've got Dars, you've got a drink there. The Kit Kat's apparently extremely chocolatey, but there again, I really like this Fujiya pack here, the with Choco Country Farm Chocomint. I quite like that one. These are all available in the convenience store right now. These are awesome. I'm a big fan of Chocomint, and you know, it's just a shame that they're only going to be around for 1 or 2 months. So if you see them, buy them. They are really, really cool, and they are only around for a limited time, and they are good. Apparently the pics, according to the reviewers, I really aren't drawn to the ice creams for this, although I do quite like the idea that bake mint. In fact, I was tempted to get that today. The one I like the best isn't on this list, however. Mount Rainier. Oh, I didn't know about that. Mount Rainier has chocolate mint. I've seen this done really, really badly, so I'm kind of curious. Mount Rainier, of course, is just a Starbucks sort of rip-off. But I'm curious to try that. And so this is where the mint isn't so strong, but these are 3 kind of good ones. Oh, so there you go. Anyway, this is important stuff, especially if you live in Japan or are coming to Japan. Ko Hoshino-san. Oh, konbanwa. You recommend that you watch Olympic in your country. You've read that transport will malfunction 2020. I hope that Tokyo, well, I hope you come to Japan. And I certainly hope that Tokyo figures out a way to manage everything. You live in a country, I live in a country, I want to see that navigate the two-way 1-lane mountains. I don't understand that, but that's okay. That's the equality law we just talked about. Oh, this is a big topic this week. So apparently, my dad, when I went to Thailand to see my dad last year, I asked him, do you want something from Japan? And normally he says no, but this year he said, I want one of those famous Japanese whiskies. Can you get me one of them? And I said, sure, that sounds like fun. I did some research and I found out the Hibiki 21 or the Hibiki 17 have won all these worldwide awards, whatever. So that's what I got my dad. I got him like a Hibiki 21. It cost like $300. I said, do not open it when I am there because it'll be wasted on me. But I know you can appreciate it, and I know you have friends there who will appreciate it. So save it for a special time, and take that as my, birthday present for the last 10 years, and the next 10 years. And I took it over and I sent it to it was very hard to find. Turns out, apparently these things, they take 17 years to make, and they've just pretty much sold out of them, and they've had so much trouble stocking them up now. They're increasing production, but of course, increasing production on a 21-year-old whiskey is going to take 21 years to stock up, and they can't be storing all of their stock when it's getting real. The idea is that apparently when the demand increases, you want to be able to blend the whiskies, older and newer stuff together to be able to meet the demand. And if you're storing it all away for 17 years or 21 years, then you're not going to be able to meet the current demand. So they are doing away with the 12-year-old, the 17, and a bunch of these versions of these award-winning whiskies. Just the popularity has kind of killed them, which is a shame. But yes, that's free market economics. It's a bit of a victim of their success, but it's also going to make probably the price of the genuine 21-year-old ones. I guess it does. Maybe it's, if you haven't opened, I guess it's 24 years. It's going to probably increase the value even more of those other ones. And those other ones, by the way, were already going crazy through the roof just through popularity. This is interesting. YouTube's introducing a incognito feature. I don't know. It's obviously not for watching porn because you can't really watch that on YouTube. But if you are afraid or embarrassed by some things, all the conspiracy, I think where this might be really good. I hope that the algorithm doesn't follow you in incognito mode, because that is kind of awkward when you watch a stupid conspiracy video for yucks, and then all of a sudden all of your recommendations become conspiracy theory videos. I had a friend complaining to me about this the other day, and I've had the same thing happen. I think that's one thing, where you don't want the algorithm to be tracking certain videos that you're watching. The other thing, of course, is obviously when your history is accessible to members of your family or whatever. It's just there are perfectly legitimate reasons that you might not want people to see YouTube videos. How to wrap a present. That's a cute and innocent type that you might not want, but I don't know how to treat venereal disease or something like that. I can imagine there are types of videos that probably you don't want to necessarily have on your regular public history. Or accessible to other people. So apparently, yes, YouTube is introducing an incognito mode for viewing, and I can see why that would be, in some situations, a good thing. So what do I watch on YouTube? Well, at the moment, it's all there. I'm kind of curious. Should I share it? I don't think I've got anything to hide, but I'm not going to share it. So there. Ha. Yes, I actually don't have that much. The fact is, if I want to watch something that should be in incognito mode, believe me, it's not YouTube. I mean, seriously. I can't really think of very much. Personally, I'm not that I would watch on YouTube that would need that. But I've had this conversation with people complaining about that. Oh, and this was funny. North Korea this week, they threatened to call off the summit meeting with Trump, and they cancelled talks with South Korea because of the annual military drills that America does with South Korea. We've seen this before, of course. North Korea first, they they mad dog you. You know, first they say, "Hey, come be my friend," and everyone goes, "Yeah, oh, we can be your friend now. Really? You're not going to like screw us again?" They come and say, "Yeah." They do this to you every single time. It's like over and over. That's exactly actually what they do. What I just did is exactly what North Korea does every single time, and they're doing it again. They're mad dogging them. They are loan sharking them. They are best friend turns to scary debt collector, turns to, you know, like crazy. You just can't deal with this stuff. Yeah, you know, so credit to them. They're playing their game and they're sticking to it. And you know, South Korean government and American government are getting sucked into it again, but stuff happens. Fujifilm Instax. I love Fujifilm Instax. I also love the digital one that I got like back in 1999, and it was really, really cool. It still works. You can still buy the Fujifilm like Meshi business card size film. However, now the big format, of course, is square format, you know, your Instagrams or whatever, and I think this will print digital photos as well as regular ones on these sort of, you know, Polaroid type photo format. Awesome. You know, this is the modern Polaroid camera, so really, really cool. I actually think it's really cool that they're bringing out a square format film and camera, given that that's kind of the thing, so that's pretty cool. Asian students are not so into doing US degrees anymore. This isn't really news, but definitely I think there's a couple of reasons here. One, Japanese, I used to get these US degrees to be able to get into these big trading companies for this lifetime employment in these Japanese mega corporations. Now they don't have guaranteed employment in those corporations. Half those times when they get into them, it's only on a contract basis. So there's the incentive to invest in something like $100,000 US degree. The payoff isn't there. No one wants those jobs anyway. Plus, people, I think, are becoming increasingly aware in Japan that they've actually got it pretty good. Like the current generation, they like being. You know, the people are just have just eased up. They're not quite so intense as they used to be with their exam hell and, you know, trying to get an edge by going to university in America. Of course, something's being lost by the lack of extra exposure, and some people are pointing out, yeah, the kids just look a bit lazy and, you know, hippies and whatever nowadays. But I think it's kind of cool that they're the fact that they're more chill is a good thing. Yeah, certainly it means that you are getting from Japanese a lot less. You know, Taiwan and Korea are still more competitive than Japan, I think, at this, and probably sending more students over there, but even those are declining. My Gen TV is awesome. Of course, you should go check it out, but give it one more week. It's just a thing. YouTube is now going to start having a setting that you can remind yourself to, hey, stop watching YouTube so much. Okay, go ahead and watch more. My idea is that you can just watch as much as you like, but you just won't need to go and like tap on distracting videos. You'll just watch what you want to watch, which is why my Gen TV is awesome and better than actually watching on YouTube. Cha-chang, ba-bam. Yes. Bunch of Japanese teens busted for marijuana say we wanted to be like foreign musicians. Yeah, well, yeah. And you know, I mean, weed was actually legal in Japan until it was the Americans during GHQ who made it illegal. You know, it grows. It's a natural. It's an indigenous plant in Japan. Although natural Japanese hemp is not very potent, it grows wild by the highway up in Hokkaido. There used to be bus tours that would go up, and people would just like pick it off beside the road and start smoking it. Sumo, Shinto religion. It's a part of all of these things. It's kind of funny now that it's more associated with foreign musicians than it is with local culture. It is everywhere, but I don't know what that's about, but you can see it anyway, so I'm just going to okay it. I thought that was funny. We are coming up on time. In fact, we're slightly over time. This is kind of funny. This is something that the very, very awesome Alicia from Japanese Pod 101 was reposting about the passive voice, how bureaucrats will, rather than saying Hiko will file all the documents by Wednesday, will say all the documents will be filed by Wednesday. They'll use the passive voice to be able to obfuscate responsibility, which is actually the Japanese language naturally lends itself to not using who's going to do something quite a lot. It's a language which actually lends itself to the statement that it will be such that, without ever identifying who the responsible person is or a clear deadline or line of responsibility. This is something that happens a lot. And she was talking about the very good point that Japanese actually is a lot like bureaucratic in English. Yes. And this is her comment, actually. Alicia on Twitter. If use of passive voice to shift or obfuscate responsibility is deeply troubling. It can be hard to detect unless you're familiar with the situation. And it's very Japanese. If you learn Japanese, it's maybe one of the reasons the language is considered to be hard to learn. Yeah, I think now we're on to the subjects from the week before. We're not actually. Some of these are mixed over. Team Lab is setting up a permanent museum this summer. Team Lab is awesome. If you come to Tokyo, it'll be in Odaiba. You'll have to go and check out the Team Lab museum. It's like a big integrated like digital museum stuff, but they do cool, awesome stuff. You should check that out. Let's go back. But if you want an idea of what it's like, I think I showed this last week. From Spoon Tamago, this is an awesome blog, but just for an idea, they just do like these kind of awesome, super awesome stuff. I've never seen anything like it anywhere else. They're really cool, and you should go check out. If you're visiting Japan from this summer, you should check out the Team Lab Museum in Odaiba. It's going to be in the Mirai-kan, I believe, beside where the Toyota Expo thing is. What else we got here? This was kind of funny that a train company in Tokyo issued an apology for leaving the station 25 seconds too early. Which actually is a pain, I suppose, if you want to go catch a train and it's actually already left and you're there on time. It's kind of annoying, but they apologized and made the news. Of course, there's probably another train coming 30 seconds later anyway, so who cares? But yes, that was kind of funny. And time to revise the outdated act. If you were tweeting during a disaster, you're probably spreading fake news. If you were here during the 2011 earthquake, you know exactly what this is about. This is exactly what happened. Lots of people tweeting all sorts of bullshit after the quake, and it really annoyed us. And some Wolves won their first game of the season last week. I think that's it. And yes, that's right, that's from last week. Pikachu in the closet. So yeah, that's the show. We are over time. We filled up the full hour. I hope you enjoyed it. It's good to see you all. I guess I'm not going to make music because we filled up the time. I hope you're all well. Check out for more My-chan TV updates next week. That's everything that's going on in Japan. I hope you guys all have a very good week. I will try to do the same, and I'll see you back here same time next week, and have a good one. Remember to like if you like the video, because I love those likes. Peace. Any questions, by the way? If we support My-chan Kickstarter, what % do we get when you're offered 200 billion from YouTube or Google? Says Robert. You'll get my appreciation. I'm thinking about what the perks would be if I do a Kickstarter, including we are going to have a pro tier. I'm thinking that could be one thing that you could get, like 12 months or whatever, you know, for that or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm still this is just a site that's basically a web app that works on the YouTube API. So I'm actually not, you know, there's limits to what I can do with it. But who knows? I'm trying to think. I'll think about how to make it worth your while. So John Anderson. Hope you enjoyed the beginning. Hope you all have a very good week. And what do I watch on YouTube? Do you want to see? Oh, seriously. But why do I have to do that anyway? I mean, you know, half the time I've just been doing My-chan tests more than anything else lately. You know what? Yes, you might see some weird stuff. Who knows? I'll leave it to your imagination. I'm going to end the show. I'll see you later. Have a good week, everybody. Peace.